Welcome everyone to the Merrimack College Coding Certificate Bootcamp information session. I'm Peggy Yu, and I am the Managing Director of the Bootcamp. And I have alongside me John Carmichael, who will be the technical instructor. So today we've got a couple of items that we're going to run through. First, we're going to introduce the team and have you get to know the team a bit better. We'll then talk about why should you be interested in coding and why are we teaching it this way and why is it so important to learn it now. We'll also discuss who this bootcamp is geared towards and the components that make up this bootcamp, as well as the nitty-gritty details. And then finally, we'll address the question how this will prepare you for your next career opportunity. And woven throughout, we'll give an opportunity for questions and answers. So please utilize your chat box with the questions, and as they come in, we will address them. Okay, so a little bit about myself. Again, I'm Peggy Yu, and I'll be the Managing Director of the Bootcamp. My history is, there's a lot to it. I originally worked at Harvard Business School at the Rock Center for Entrepreneurship. There I ran programs for founders as well as those looking to join early stage startups. I've worked across a wide variety of industries, including media, market research, transportation and logistics, and finally education. Education is most definitely my favorite. We've got John Carmichael. John, take it away.
Yes, I'm John Carmichael. I'm the lead instructor for this program. During the days, I'm a senior software engineer at Maxwell Health. We create software for managing employee benefits. And I've been coding in various types of roles for a little over 15 years now. I've been everything from a software engineer as I am today. I've been a VP of engineering. I've been a security engineer. So I've really sort of bounced around a bit in that time. I've also done a lot of teaching in that time. I really do enjoy teaching folks to code, and so I've been doing that in boot camps and other formats for well over 10 years now.
Great, thank you, John. Another key member of the team is Andrea Finn. Andrea isn't with us right now, but Andrea is the program manager for the Coding Bootcamp, and she works at Merrimack College. So everything, operations and logistics, is all Andrea. Okay, let's talk about why coding, why this way, why now. What is most important to know is that there's a huge gap in terms of people who have coding skills and the types of jobs that are out there that demand it. What's also really important to know is that it's not just for web developers. There are so many technical roles out there in which knowing coding would significantly help. What we'll be teaching in this bootcamp is JavaScript, and it's one of the most popular, fastest growing languages. Oh, we've got a question coming in here, and one question is, why JavaScript? There's so many other languages out there. Why did we choose JavaScript, JC?
Yeah, we chose JavaScript partially because it is a remarkably popular language and definitely fast growing. You see a lot of code being written in this these days. It's typically, depending on when the surveys are done, the top one or two language for folks working in industry. But we also chose it because of its ability to write different types of applications. JavaScript can be used on the front end to write web-facing, user-facing types of applications. It can be used on the back end, really writing a lot of that code that moves data around. You can use it for mobile applications. You can use it for voice apps, which we do in this course. So it's really got a wide spectrum of abilities, and that will allow folks to take this one skill set of JavaScript and apply it in multiple different ways, depending on what direction they'd like to take things.
Thank you, that's really helpful. Another great point for folks learning coding is that you make more money. And I know this is something that's exciting for a lot of people, is that on average, those who acquire the coding skills, they get paid an extra $22,000 a year. And so if you look at the graph on the right, you'll see the job growth, right? So for web developers, 27% from 2014 to 2024, computer jobs in general, 12%, and just on average, the average job is 7%. So that's almost 4 times, developer jobs, 4 times the growth of the average job. And that's tremendous. Okay, so what's also really important to know is that coding opens the doors for a wide variety of careers, and it's not just for programmers. JC, did you want to go into some of the common roles that people will see, as well as other roles in which the coding skills would be helpful and applicable towards?
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of folks think about these roles on the common roles side, really, when they think about software skills, right, and coding skills, you know, being a developer,
Mm-hmm.
a software engineer, going into DevOps, doing QA, it's all, you know, very software focused. But it's really helpful to have these skill sets in other types of jobs as well, whether you're working with data or other types of engineering, even UX folks. Having those skill sets and having some familiarity with code really does make you better at your day-to-day job. Perfect example, I worked with a few folks who are more in the customer success side of things. So they're working with customers, making sure that they're able to use the software that they're working with. And a lot of times the types of issues they run into, the support folks really need to dig into some of the data in the back end to know exactly what's going on and why there's a problem with what the software is doing. And typically when they got to that point of investigation, they would have to pull in an engineer to help them with some of the more technical aspects of that investigation. But a few of them came to me and said, hey, we'd like to learn some of these skills, some of these languages, and be more self-service with this. So we took a while. We'd spend some time every week teaching them SQL, which is a language you use to interact with databases. And they were able to learn a lot of those skills and become much more self-reliant and faster and better at their job day to day, because they didn't need to rely on engineers to do some of those common things that they were running into.
That's great. That's great. This really gives an opportunity for folks, even if they're not developers per se, it gives them a wider tool set to pull from, and potentially differentiates them, right, in their roles.
Absolutely.
Great. So if we haven't made it clear now, we'll make it clear. There are so many jobs out there. According to the Mass Technology Leadership Council report, computer science and coding are fundamental skills for the 21st century workforce. There are over 23,000 open tech jobs in Massachusetts alone. And again, what we want to make clear is that tech jobs are jobs that require knowledge of some computer programming skills, and they exist in every single industry. It's not just technology. It is finance, it's healthcare, it's education, it's consumer goods. It is everywhere. Let's take a look at some more employment trends. You know, programming jobs are growing the fastest, 50% faster than the market overall. And there are nearly 7 million job openings in the US last year that required coding skills. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that by 2020, 1.4 million computer science related jobs, and there are only 400,000 CS graduates with those skills to apply for those jobs. That's a huge delta. A demand for 1.4 million jobs, but only 400,000 people who currently have those skills. Finally, for web developers, it's projected to grow about 15% from 2016 to 2026. And again, as we saw in earlier slides, much faster than the average for all occupations. Okay, this is a question that I know that a lot of folks will have is, can I really become a developer in 14 weeks? Tell us, JC, can they really become a developer in 14 weeks?
You absolutely can. You know, what we're really trying to break down in this course is it's a way of thinking about problems and breaking down problems into smaller pieces and then coming up with solutions to those problems. So that's really the crux of what being a developer is. The actual writing of the code, as I always say, is the easy part once you sort of figure out what am I trying to do. And so we really marry those two together, really try to tackle each of the pieces of learning how to code with the why would I solve a problem in this way, and how do I think about these problem sets that I'm being approached with. And so over the 14 weeks, you're really becoming immersed in that thought process that developers go through, so that by the end of that 14 weeks, you've sort of made that a bit second nature as you approach problems, and also learn some of those, you know, what we call the syntax of writing the code, the actual characters used to make the solutions come to life. So it is totally doable in 14 weeks. You know, the curriculum is laid out to make sure that we are building on the skills as we go and giving folks what they need to get to that point.
You know, John, I think one explanation that you gave to me really helped crystallize what's pretty special about this course is that what you're teaching is, and I'm explaining in layman terms, is like when you're writing a paper, right? So it's one thing to just write a bunch of words and throw them on a piece of paper. It's another thing to have an outline, to have a thesis, to have paragraphs that prove your thesis, right? And this is really kind of the crux of what we're trying to teach in this boot camp.
Absolutely. It's that structuring the problem, breaking it down, and understanding a solution to those pieces that really is the crux of being a developer.
Fantastic. Now, who this boot camp is geared for. So we really look at 4 groups of people. There are career changers, there are career advancers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. And let's dive into each of those. So career changers are those who are looking to change their job, right? So they either want to, they really like their company, but they're hoping to work in a different department or have a different role, or perhaps they're ready to leave this current company and find a new role in a different company. Another one is career advancers. And so, I think things that you could think about are exactly like John explained. Let's say that you're someone in the data field and you're able to acquire coding skills. This is certainly something that would really differentiate you and really put you on the path for potentially a promotion and a salary increase, as well as a better performance review. We also have innovators and entrepreneurs, right? So let's say you really enjoy the company that you're working at, but you're really trying to drive change. This boot camp is really helpful for those who are really interested in cultivating an innovative mindset and really pushing for innovation and change within their company. And finally, entrepreneurs. I know that we always have a few entrepreneurs in these info sessions, and whether or not it's something that you do full-time or it's a side hustle, having the skills to build what you dream is so important. So again, the 4 types of people that this boot camp would be fantastic for are career changers, career advancers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. Now let's dive into the components of the boot camp. There are 5 main components that make the Merrimack College Coding Certificate Boot Camp pretty special. One is that it is surrounded and kind of led by folks like John. It's all about industry practitioner instructors. So they are working during the day and then they share their knowledge with you at night and on the weekends. 2, it is market-driven curriculum. So it was John who led the development of this curriculum, right? And so he is basing it off of obviously what he knows day in and day out in his daytime job. We also have real-world industry projects that are a key part of the learning experience of this boot camp. We want you to be able to apply your technical skills and show off to a company. Finally, we also have our communication and innovation curriculum, which is really to supplement the technical skills that you're learning. We very much believe that diverse teams lead to better and stronger innovative outcomes. And in order for diverse teams to come together, right, they have different backgrounds, different personalities, different perspectives, really strong communication is key for these teams to function together. So woven throughout this curriculum is our communication and innovation curriculum. And finally, to really show your learnings, you'll have your very own web portfolio to show to folks at your company or prospective hiring managers. Now we'll dive deeper into each of these, but we wanted you to see, the overview of the key components of this boot camp. All right, so let's take a look more into the technical curriculum. JC, do you want to talk about the web development?
So in the web development side, as we've said, we'll be using JavaScript and we'll be learning to build and deploy applications that are written in JavaScript. So there are several exercises that go along with each of the modules that we're working on as we're sort of building up those skills. We'll be working in smaller chunks on sort of giving practice time with that, as well as bigger portfolio pieces. So these would be those things that would go into a portfolio for a student where they could show off that skill set to potential employers that they, here's problems that I was presented with and was able to solve. The big one of those, the sort of capstone project for this, is the Amazon Alexa skill. So the Amazon devices that have the AI built into them for having a sort of voice user interface, as they say, is the Alexa, Amazon calls those skills. And so you're giving the Alexa device a skill to do something. And in that case, we'll be building actual skills and spending some time on what does that mean to build a voice application? How do you actually write that code? And how do you interact with those types of devices? On top of that, we'll be building and using RESTful APIs, which is a big way that most data is moved around nowadays. A lot of applications will be using these types of things. APIs are really ways for machines to talk to other machines and code to talk to other code. And so we'll be learning how to actually build those on the back end. And in order to do that, that will involve manipulating databases, testing and debugging code. So all of these things that developers do day to day to make these applications successful will be things that we spend some time on in the web development curriculum.
Great. And then for the communication innovation curriculum, again, it's all about really bringing diverse teams together, having them work effectively to yield the most innovative solutions. And in order to make that happen, we'll address topics like what it means to communicate effectively under pressure, and also talk about things like growth mindset and utilizing agile and lean methodologies. So what really makes this program different? I'm pointing to you, JC. This is what really makes you special. Please tell us more about the industry practitioner instructors.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that the things that people are learning are the things that professionals do day to day. You don't see this a lot in CS programs, and it's something that boot camps, I think, do a lot better, is that day to day, what's it like to be an engineer, and what are the things that are important to do that job? Not just the theory of computer science and applications, but really the practice of it. And in order to do that, we had to bring in industry practitioners and say, okay, what are the things you're doing day to day, and how do we then teach folks how to do that? And the great thing about bringing some folks in who do this day to day is you're really getting not just the technical skills, but a lot of that sort of understanding of what it means to be on a team, to work with other developers. And, we want to make sure also you're building up a bit of a network, that human network, and you're meeting other folks in the industry and starting to build up the, folks that you can go to with questions, or, be introduced to people who may be hiring. And that's a really important part of this program as well.
Thank you. And you won't just learn, you'll actually be doing it. Let's talk a little bit more about Alexa, JC.
Yes. So as we said, you'll be building one of these skills, and voice is really a big thing right now. It's sort of, we're becoming more and more immersed in having these voice experiences and interacting with machines by speaking, not by typing in on a keyboard or swiping on a phone. We're able to say things to these devices like an Echo device and have them respond to us in some way. And we're really in the early days of that, where the iPhone 3 was with mobile. We don't know where it's going to go. Some people have some ideas, but it's really about where the developers, the folks who can write these types of voice applications, are going to decide what that future looks like. And so getting in at this level is really exciting to say, I can get in, I can start writing these types of applications. I can help shape where we go with voice and what's possible with voice. And so we're going to go in and actually do this. Students will come out of this with a deployable skill that they will be able to put on the Amazon marketplace. And having done this myself, I can tell you it's a lot of fun to be able to go to Amazon's site and see your work in Amazon's site. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun for folks, as well as being a great showpiece for folks who are looking for talking to potential employers about other jobs that they could do. Having this skill is really a big thing to say, hey, I've done this before. I know how to do these things.
So we're really giving them an opportunity to be an entrepreneur right here, right? If they're building and launching their own Amazon Alexa skill.
Absolutely. I mean, if this is something that folks want to go with, there's opportunities to certainly make money at this as well. There are contests that Amazon runs. There is a lot of ability to monetize these things. So in the same way that folks do with mobile apps, you can actually also create something that could potentially be a moneymaker as well, which is pretty fun.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So as we've discussed before, beyond the code, and a crucial part of what you'll be learning is our communication innovation curriculum. And there are a few key things that we want you to know, is that if we believe that innovation comes from diverse teams, and research shows that time and time again, HBR speaks of it, Google has done studies on it, Project Aristotle. What we do know is that diverse teams can only be built and thrive being the key word, with strong communication. And so as we look at what we talk about in terms of communication, it will start with exercises that are really focused on the individual and the self-awareness and cultivating self-awareness, and then move towards the collective, right? Social and emotional intelligence, what it means to communicate with others, and also being able to understand and read what others are sharing with you. A key fact is 57% of 2,000 business leaders surveyed by LinkedIn reported that soft skills are more important than technical skills. So when you really think about how you differentiate yourself, the ability to master these skills can be really powerful. Let's talk a bit about the next thing, which is the real world project with a real world company. So as JC has alluded to, of course we'll teach you how to code, but then what it actually means to deploy those skills in a real life breathing company is often very different. So you'll be placed on a team in a co-op style project, working with a company, and you, along with your fellow team members, are going to build a solution to their business and technical challenges. And again, you'll have an opportunity to weave in your learnings from your communication and innovation curriculum, as well as your technical skills. And the cherry on top is that this is experience that you can put on your resume and in your portfolio and speak to during interviews. Let's talk more about the portfolio. JC.
Yeah, so we mentioned the capstone project, which is the skill that we'll be building for the Echo devices, which I think is sort of the big showpiece. But throughout, we actually sprinkle in a lot of problem sets that are super helpful for folks who are trying to show. It's not just about being able to say, I've learned to code. It's really showing that you have. So we use GitHub in this class, which is a way that developers typically share code online. And so we'll be using that and making sure that there are things that we're building and applications and problems we're solving, we'll be putting into our GitHub pages. When an engineer is going out and looking to be hired, I've done this as a hiring manager myself. I go to their GitHub and look at the types of code they've worked on, right? The types of projects that they've solved before. And it gives me a sense of what their skill sets are before I even start the conversation with them. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take some of that code into the interview with me and have a conversation with them about that. I feel like it's a lot easier to kind of get into someone's head about the way they think about problems, the way they break them down, and understand if they're a good fit by talking to them about their own code. And so, we'll ask questions, what were you thinking when you solved this? Why did you solve it in that way? What would you change now, knowing what you know now? And really that gives me a sense of how much they're growing over time. So it's really, important for developers to have code to show and to talk about in the same way that someone who's a designer would have to have an online portfolio of things they've designed. And so we will be having opportunities to build that up throughout the classes. We work on different exercises to practice what we're learning in the classroom. They also double as showpieces.
My high school English teacher, JC, would always say, show, not tell. And this is exactly what you've described. It's all about the ability to show, to have that conversation.
Exactly.
Okay, so something that's pretty special about the Merrimack College Coding Certificate Bootcamp is the career development support. And so you'll have this access and support of the O'Brien Career Development Center. And there's a slew of services and software and people that are there to support you, whether it is looking through job openings or it is setting up one-on-one appointments with a career advisor, or even, getting prepared for job interviews. Quincia is an opportunity for you to sit down in the comfort of your own home and do a practice run and get feedback on your fillers, like, and also how you're projecting to a potential interviewer. So there is a lot of career development support for you here at the Coding Bootcamp. Now let's go through time expectations. So what's important to know is that we very much want you to continue with your busy life. We recognize that you all have quite a few obligations. 9 to 5 is often pretty hectic, but we also want to give you the opportunity to code at nights and on weekends. You can expect about 12 hours each week of face-to-face class time at Merrimack College campus, so it's important to note it is at the campus in North Andover. There will also be some remote classes woven in. You also will have up to 12 hours each week of exercise and project work in class and or on your own time. And then classes run Monday and Wednesday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 to 5. The entire boot camp is 14 weeks long. And on the very first day, you will have an orientation to Merrimack College. And so there you're going to get your student ID. We'll show you around campus. What's really exciting about this boot camp is that you're very much part of the Merrimack community. You have access to the gym. You have access to the library. You are able to put money on your student ID card and eat at the different campus facilities. So it's a pretty cool, unique differentiator with this boot camp. So a question a lot of folks will have is the need for pre-work and experience. Really all that we ask of folks is to come in with a few things. One, and most important, is a healthy dose of curiosity. There's a lot that's going to be hard, and there's going to be a lot that's coming at you very quickly. And so knowing that you can approach it from a place of curiosity, we find is one of the most effective ways to learn. We ask for basic computer literacy as well as familiarity with web browsers such as Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and IE. We also want you to have a modern laptop with the specs highlighted here. And then finally, there is no need for pre-work right now. We will send you stuff that you can use to set up your computer beforehand if there's time, but if you're not able to, we're able to work with you on that in the classroom. In terms of cost, what we're looking at is $9,795 for the 14 weeks. It's a total of 154 hours of class time, and it includes all class materials minus the laptop. The laptop you'll have to have on your own. In order to hold your seat, we need a $500 deposit, and there are payment plans available. And so, you know, at the very end, we'll show you Andrea's contact information, but individual conversations with Andrea can help you figure out a variety of payment plans that'll work to suit your needs. In addition, you will have 15.4 continuing education units. Finally, next steps, registration. So there is no application required. You can register on the Merrimack website. And the deadline for the boot camp has actually just been extended, and it is now May 28th. So a few weeks away. And again, if you have any questions, Andrea Finn is the best place to start, and then she can get myself and John involved as needed. Her phone number is 978-837-3576. Again, her phone number is 978-837-3576, and her email is finna@merrimack.edu. Now, let's see if there are any other questions. Oh, we have one question that came in comparing this boot camp to all the other coding boot camps out there, for example, General Assembly. How do we differentiate ourselves from General Assembly? I can tackle that one, JC. You know, what I would say is the main difference is the ability to be a part of the Merrimack community. Both JC and I have worked at, you know, separate standalone boot camps And I think what we find really exciting about this one with Merrimack is that you're very much a part of the Merrimack community, right? You've got your student ID, you have access to the buildings, the gym, the library, and the career services. That's tremendous, and that's not something that you can typically find in standalone boot camp. Is there anything else that you want to add to that, JC, about what makes us different?
I think that we really focus on the portfolio of outcomes in this boot camp. So having that portfolio of different exercises, having the Alexa skill, having the project that you work on with the real life company, I think there's, there's a focus on showing what you can do and what you've been able to do. And that is, I think, a big part of it as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it looks like that is it for questions. And so I will go back to this slide. Again, if you have other questions that come up after listening to this webinar, please reach out to Andrea Finn. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. And we hope to hear from you soon and hopefully have you join us on May 29th, which is the start date of the Merrimack College Coding Certificate Bootcamp. Thanks, everyone.